So?
I can't hear you.
All right, we're rolling.
I can't hear you.
All right, everybody, welcome. Last day of a most gorgeous, wonderful, fabulous market season here at the Mill City Farmers Market. A little chilly. This is actually, we're going a week longer than we did last year. I remember last year was a lot warmer, but that's just fine because all the vendors still have all their amazing produce and products here. I also wanted to mention, I got here and I found out that over at Singing Hills Goat Dairy, they're sampling out some goat meatballs. So if you haven't tried those yet, go over and ask them for a sample because their goat meat is fabulous. So they've got some goat meat meatballs that they are sampling. So figured that it was going to be a little chilly today. So what are we making today? First of all, I want to introduce my guest today. This is one of my favorite guests of the whole year that I get to have join me. Do you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Josephine.
This is my daughter, Josephine. This is our third year that we've been doing this. We start the market together for Mother's Day, and then we end the market together at the last day, which is always really fun, isn't it? So in thinking about miso soup is a really simple, quick, healthy, and delicious soup to make. But I know a lot of people are a little, they're not quite sure how to make it, and we are here to show you how easy it is to make miso soup. And actually, in Japan, do you know when they eat miso soup? What meal of the day, do you know? Take a guess. There's only 3 meals, so you got a pretty good...
Breakfast.
They eat miso soup for breakfast over there, which is a really great way to start your day. And so, first of all, I think we need to talk about the miso, because that's kind of the main thing in the dish that you use. And what I like to do is I like to use a combination of the darker red miso and the white miso, because I think if you use just one, you might not get the full body, the roundness of the miso, the saltiness. So I use a little bit of the red miso and a little bit of a sweet white miso. Now, when you're shopping for miso, I always talk about United Noodle in South Minneapolis. That's like one of my favorite Asian places to go, and we go there all the time. We just went there the other day, didn't we? And it's fun. There's a lot of cool stuff there. And that is one of the best places I have found to buy miso. And actually this organic sweet white miso I got at my local co-op. And so you can find miso, it's usually refrigerated. So that's where you want to look, in the refrigerated area of your grocery store. So that is the miso part of it. And as far as the rest of the recipe, I think we've got some recipes handed out. But you can use any vegetable you want. You can keep it really, really simple and just do the broth with the miso and a little bit of green onions, maybe a little bit of spinach in there. But we just kind of shopped the market here like we always do and found some really fun things to put in there. The one really cool thing that we have that we're putting in there is dried shiitakes. And we got the dried shiitakes from Jeremy at Cherry Tree House Mushrooms over there in the courtyard. And what I did is I rehydrated the shiitake mushrooms because they're dry. So I put them in a little bit of water, a little bit of warm water to just kind of bring them back to life. And the one thing I found with his shiitakes is he grows them on logs. So they're not really gritty. Sometimes when you get dried shiitake mushrooms and you soak them, you get a lot of grit that's left over in the water. But it's not very gritty, and I've left the water kind of settle. And I'm going to put this water right into my broth, or what will eventually become our broth for our soup. So I'm going to put that right in there. So our nice shiitake water in there. And the stems on shiitakes are really tough. So you want to cut those off.
They look like tiny feet.
little feet on the mushrooms? They kind of do, don't they? And can you feel how tough they are?
Ah!
They're really, really tough. So if you wanted to, you could always save the stems and use them for a vegetable broth for another time if you wanted to. You could also put them in tea. If you're making green tea, you can take the stems, because shiitakes have a lot of really wonderful antioxidant properties. So you could put those in your tea if you wanted. So I'm just going to slice up these rehydrated shiitakes. He also has a lot of other, he has fresh shiitake mushrooms too.
You could use it as an umbrella.
An umbrella? The mushrooms an umbrella? You could use it for like a doll hat maybe. If you have like near dolls, you could put it on as a hat. Yeah.
It would feel really squishy though.
Well, yeah, because you can feel them once. Feel how squishy they are.
Oh, they feel weird.
Do you remember this summer when we went foraging for wild mushrooms?
No.
We found some wild oyster mushrooms.
I remember.
Everybody was kind of afraid to eat them, but we're still here, so they seem to be okay. So if you are using the fresh shiitake mushrooms, I would put those in a little bit later. But because these are dry, we're going to put them in right away because they're also going to really give the soup a great flavor. So I'm just going to put those right in my water. I'm going to bring the water up to a bit of a higher boil because next we're going to add the butternut squash. And the really great thing about this soup is I'm just kind of throwing everything in the water and to get it cooking. And you always want to add the miso last. Because miso has...
Miso really salty?
Miso is really salty. So you'll notice in our recipe, we're not adding salt to the recipe because the miso is salty. So with my butternut squash here, we already cut up the bottom part. I'm just going to break off the stem. And I always use a peeler with butternut squash. And when I'm shopping for butternut squash, I look for a really big top part. And I know you had mentioned this before when we were looking at the butternut squash because you thought we should find one that had a really big butt. Big butt on the bottom. But then I was telling her, when you do that, it's all seeds. You don't get a lot of squash, really. So you want a big top, a big fat top, because that's where you're going to get most of your squash. So you always want to make sure you wash your squash first.
Wash it and then peel.
This is pretty dirty. And I just take my peeler.
Can I try?
I think I'm just going to do it really quick. You are really good at peeling things. And I'm going to peel off everything.
The more you peel it, the more it gets orange, right? Because the inside is really orange.
That's right, that's right. And really with this recipe, you could use any squash, but I always find that butternut squash is really easy to peel and cut. So that's why I seek out the butternut. With the other squash, I always just like to roast them whole and use the flesh for a soup.
The top looks frozen.
Kind of like my hands right now.
Me too.
And we're going to throw this in our compost because here at the Mill City Farmers Market, we compost everything kind of like we do at home, right?
Yeah. We have a big compost in our backyard at home.
We do. We have a mouse living in our compost.
Yeah,
Too.
we have a mouse living in our compost.
There we go. So it's going to cut that in half. Throw it in the compost.
Where does the compost go?
Well, the compost, they bring it to a company that takes all the compost and eventually turns back into dirt.
Is it like the dump?
Kind of like the dump.
Well, the dump is more stinky.
Yeah, compost isn't stinky. It's not supposed to be.
I think it is.
All right, so I'm chopping up this squash fairly small, mostly because I want to make sure with sample purposes that everybody gets a little bit of it, but here at home you can definitely cut it up a little bit bigger if you want to.
Not there's one more
One
left.
less.
But there's lots of flies around the compost.
Not really. There shouldn't be.
Not a lot.
There's worms in the compost. Worms are really good for compost.
I don't like worms.
So Josephine, tell everybody what you're going to dress up for Halloween.
A bat.
And what did we learn about bats in our research?
That some bats eat fruits.
Right.
And some bats eat insects too.
That's right.
Lots of insects.
And that we don't need to be afraid of that.
Because don't be afraid of bats.
cut up. My hands are working a little bit slower today.
I think it's because they're cold.
They are cold, yes. That's why some nice warm miso soup will be very good. All right. Can I have you cut the rest of
When
the
are we going to
squash
put in
here?
the miso?
Thank you very much. All right, so now we got some really lovely bok choy. The recipe calls for spinach and green onions, but we didn't find any green onions today. But I found this beautiful bok choy at Stone Throws Farm. So I'm going to cut off the bottom. And the thing with bok choy is it's got so many little chambers on the inside, and so I'm just going to try to make sure they don't have any dirt or grit left in there.
When are we going to put in the miso?
Oh, that's a good question, Josephine. We don't want to put the miso in until the very end, because you don't want to boil miso. Because because miso, like yogurt, has a lot of active, alive enzymes that's good for us. So if you boil that miso, and then you don't get all those beneficial properties of the miso. So we want to add that last. You never want to boil the soup once the miso is added.
Oh, because miso is kind of like soup.
It's kind of like kefir or kefir.
Ah.
That has all the good things for your tummy. That's right. Actually, miso soup is really good for when you have a cold or when your tummy doesn't feel very good because you're sick, like you've got the flu. So I'm also, at this point, now that I've got my butternut squash and it's kind of softening up in the water, I've got some kombu here. Now, with most miso soup recipes, they call for dashi. Dashi is the stock that has the kombu, which is a kelp or seaweed.
That looks like seaweed.
It is seaweed. Smell it. It actually, there is a lot of different price points with kombu. Kombu can start at $2 for a package like this, and it can go up to $100. There's a lot of different grades of kombu. And this one I got at United Noodle, and this package was $4, I believe. So it wasn't the cheapest, but it wasn't the most expensive. And so what I'm going to do is, some recipes call to wipe off the powder, but you don't, I don't really think that's necessary, and you don't want to wash it off, because all the flavor that we want from the kombu will get washed away if you do that. So we're just going to break this in half, and this is all we're going to use for each pot. We're just going to put that in there, and that in there. And the kombu seaweed just basically gives it a really kind of a salty, seaweedy flavor. It's kind of one of those things like, everybody's had sushi. So you've had seaweed with sushi, the wrap for that. So this is kind of gives that extra little oomph to the broth.
We also get quail eggs from, what's it called?
We get quail eggs from United Noodle.
Yeah. We were there a couple days ago and we got some quail eggs.
We haven't made them yet, but we will.
We didn't make them yet, but quail eggs are really good. They're really good.
How do you guys make them?
How do we make the quail eggs? What we do with them?
We put them in the water, hot water.
Hard boiled.
Hard-boiled water.
Hard boiled quail eggs.
Hard-boiled quail eggs. Did I say it right?
You did.
Okay.
So, because we didn't find any green onions today, we're just going to put in some of the sweet white onions. I always like to kind of pull out the interior part and put it down like this and slice it really thin.
That looks like the quail egg.
All right, and so we're going to put the onions into the broth now.
They're so skinny. Enough for each pot.
And again, you see that we're kind of creating a stock, a flavorful stock with all these ingredients, because we're not starting with chicken stock. You certainly could use a chicken stock if you're making a soup like this, but I think that there's so many flavorful components in it already that I save the chicken stock for other things. And you'll see too with this kombu, as I put it in, it rehydrates, it gets kind of big and wiggly like that, and it starts releasing its flavor into the water. Oh, winter market. Should we mention that about the winter market? So even though today is the last day of the actual Mill City Farmers Market, we're still going to have winter market.
And it's November 10th, December 8th, January 12th, February 9th, March 9th, and April 30th.
So it's the second Saturday of every month. And tell them where it's going to be, because not everybody knows where it's going to be. Where is the winter market's going to be held?
It's going to be inside the Mill City Market.
Museum.
Museum.
Yep.
I keep on saying the wrong thing.
Oh, we're getting pretty full here.
Are we going to go to the winter market, Mama?
Oh, we have to. Because we have to buy goat meat. We got to see Captain Matt and buy salmon. We have to see Denise and buy soap.
We got the momos. I'm getting fogged out.
All right, so basically what I'm looking for here is I really want the squash to be soft. And it's getting there. I added the bok choy last.
There it is.
I think there is one
I need
this
to
way.
put it right there.
Why don't we hold that aside? All right, so now with adding the miso into it,
Now, finally we got the miso.
let's use this bowl. Well, first we got to measure out our miso. And the thing with miso soup is with the recipe, when you're looking at how much miso to add, sometimes you can add less, sometimes you can add more. So I just kind of taste as I go, because I like a pretty salty miso soup.
Do we need to stir it or just pop it in?
Well, we're going to want to add some of the liquid to the miso to kind of loosen it up. Because if you just plop it in there,
It looks like
it's going to sink to the bottom, and it's not going to really get incorporated throughout the soup. So we want to make sure. It does kind of look like mush. Do you know what miso is?
I think it's like melted yogurt.
No, it's fermented soybeans. But they also use a lot of other grains with miso. They use barley.
What are
They even
soy?
use hemp seeds. So there's a lot of different things that they can make miso out of, but these are a traditional, this is water, soybeans, rice, and salt. Miso is really good for you, but you have to keep in mind that it, what?
They put rice in?
Yeah. A little bit of rice. And, but it is really salty, so if you do have any issues with taking in too much salt to your diet, if you are making miso soup, maybe err on the less miso than more. So we're going to put a little bit of the red miso.
So we gotta mix it.
Yes, because see how chunky it is? If we just added it to that right now, it
It
is.
would just sink to the bottom.
Exactly.
It wouldn't get all over. So all the other things can get mixed up.
All right, so we got some of the red miso there. And then we're going to add some of the sweet white miso. We want them to mix. Oh, that's right.
It
It does look like
peanut
peanut butter. And then the ingredients on this one, the white miso, whole soybeans, handmade rice koji, which is
What's
rice, well,
koji?
rice, it's a rice miso.
Oh,
Sun-dried sea salt,
Wow.
fancy.
Fancy.
Blue Ridge Mountain Well water. Well, this is really fancy stuff. Koji spores. So that's kind of the, well, that's kind of like with yogurt when you need to add something to activate the enzymes in the milk. So it's alive. This is a live food. All right, so we got our miso here, and what we're going to do is add a little bit of the
miso's
warm
taking
water.
over the world.
That could be the next Halloween movie.
Miso taking over the world!
Attack of the Miso Monster.
Yeah, Attack of the Miso Monster.
Okay, so we added a little bit of the warm water.
That makes it more soft.
Exactly. So we can mix it around like that.
Now it looks like peanut butter.
Yeah, like a peanut sauce, like the peanut sauce we made earlier on Tuesday. Oh, smell it. Can you smell it? What's it smell like? It smells kind of sweet, doesn't it? Miso is a really great thing to have in your fridge because it lasts a long time. You can buy a package like this, have it in your fridge for, I don't know, we've had ours in our fridge for a couple of months at least. And you can use it for a lot of different things. You can use it in a vinaigrette for salad.
It smells like, what's that thing we have at school? It's brown and it's salty. What's it called?
Brown and salty, and I might need a little more info. Soy sauce.
Yeah,
Soy sauce.
It smells like soy sauce.
You know why? Soy sauce is also made by soybeans.
Yes?
Sometimes
Everything's made from soybeans.
there's a lot of things made from soybeans, yes. But miso will last a long time in your fridge, and there's a lot of different ways you can use it. Obviously, miso soup like this. You can make a dip with a little bit of miso and tahini or sesame paste, some green onions and herbs for a really fantastic dip for vegetables. Fantastic on fish. If you did a little bit of orange juice in miso and glazed it on fish or chicken.
Are we going to put that back in there?
We are, but remember, we don't want to add it until the very end because we don't want to
Make all
we don't want to boil.
we don't want to boil.
Kill all the things that are living in it.
All right. So another cool thing about miso, I mean, right now we've just got all of our vegetables in the water. There's nothing else other than the dried shiitakes, green onions, kombu seaweed, butternut squash, the greens, the bok choy. Just gonna double check to make sure some of these bigger chunks of butternut squash are.
Why is there like purple stuff in there? Why are you taking that out?
Well, I'll have to test it to make sure it's soft.
Oh.
And at this point, if I had the fresh shiitakes from Jeremy, this is when I would add the fresh shiitakes because you don't want them cooked too far. All right, let's see. They're cooked. Okay, so now we're going to turn these off. And we're going to add our miso mixture because you can see now that it's really nice and loose.
You said you didn't want to put it in yet.
Well, I turned it off, so it's not boiling anymore.
Let me come see.
And we're going to need to taste it to make sure that there is enough miso flavor in it. And with miso soup, it's really best eaten the same day it's made. It's not a freezable soup. It does not freeze well.
The miso in there though.
Well, the
There's
miso
too
is,
many vegetables at the top.
and I'm thinking,
Do the vegetables just float to the top?
sometimes it depends on what vegetables.
Like
The heavier vegetables like the squash
they
tend to
sink to
sink.
the bottom.
Yep.
But other times they.
And also at this point, I'm going to take the kombu out and grab tongs to get the kombu out. Ready to go. Here we are. And I'm going to grab a taster spoon and taste to see if there's enough miso in there. Now I've got a feeling that there probably won't be, but
Is that okay? Is that okay? Or do we need
we can
more?
always add more if needed.
Well, we can't take it out.
That's right. So I do think, I know for this one I'm going to add a little bit more. Yep, they definitely need a bit more miso. So I'm going to do the same thing again, where I'm going to add the mixture of the two, a little bit of water. And typically with a lot of Japanese cuisine, they don't use chili flakes or a lot of heat with their ingredients. But sometimes, especially if I have a cold and it's the winter time, I like the hot foods, like the spicy foods. So sometimes I would add a little bit of sriracha to it, a little bit of Thai chili paste, even though we're kind of crossing our cuisines there. But okay, so we're going to make this all mixed up. All right, so we're going to add it back to this. Can somebody grab me a spatula, please? A rubber spatula. Also in the recipe I had called for tofu. Tofu is kind of one of the big ingredients in miso soup. We don't have that here today. So I kind of just wanted to keep it all about the market vegetables that we found here.
Finally, I have my gloves.
Let's see, where did my tasting?
This is cool.
Also too, I found with the different kinds of miso, some of them are a little saltier than others. So that's why I kind of taste as I go to make sure that it has enough of that saltiness, but it's not overpoweringly salty. And I think I'm actually going to add a little bit more.
I want the hot to go to me. It's cold.
Yep, I'm going to continue to add a little bit more to it. I'm making a lot of miso soup here today because I figured we're all going to need a little bit of
There's not enough
bit of
people
warmth.
here though.
No, what are they doing? They should be coming down here and watching us. All right, so I'm just going to add the rest of this here. And again, mix it up with a little
Oh,
broth. Okay, I think this is it. This is going to get us to where we want it to be. Our breakfast miso soup here with market vegetables found at the Mill City Farmers Market.
Almost done, right?
What's that?
Almost done, right?
Almost done, yes.
Yay! Aw.
Okay. Now, if you're using the green onions in this
I thought you were
recipe
going to use that thing.
of the misos,
The onion.
thank you. Yeah, well, I kind of like to use the outside part of the onion because then I can get the nice thin rounds, the thin half moons. Ah, that is it. That's perfect. And with those shiitake mushrooms, that is just fabulous. All right, so you notice that the heat is off. We're not boiling the soup. We'll bring this on over and sample it out to you. If you didn't get a recipe, we do have more recipes
I'm
up
going to
here.
bring it out. I'm going to bring it out.
We have more recipes, and as always, all season, everything that Nick and I have made here at the Farmers Market is always on our website at millcityfarmersmarket.org. All the recipes we've made are there for you. So with that, again, winter markets. Of course, this is the last day.
I don't want to
But
be the last day.
there are going to be the winter markets every second Saturday of the month inside the Mill City Museum. So make sure you come
Can I
and
pass
see
it
us.
out, Mom?
Yes, you can.
Yay!
So I want to thank Josephine for being here. Good work, sweetheart.
I was scared at first for the rest. Now I'm not.
Now we're
scared.
probably not going to be able to get the mic away from you.
No.
Yeah.
I might just take this home.
That's kind of what I figured. And I also wanted to give a big shout out to Jillian, our kitchen manager this year. She's the one who shows up early in the morning, gets all this set up, so I can get an extra hour to sleep in. And Jillian does all the work. She puts it all together. So big thank you to Jillian this year. All of our volunteers throughout the whole season. I know you two have been here several times throughout the year to help us out. And to everybody here at the market who shows up early in the morning, sets everything up, and is here to provide us with amazing local food, local handmade products, fish that's caught from Alaska and come on down to us, all of that. Take away, Jillian.
Thank you, Heather, for being so awesome and for being here every week and for having these creative ideas, for teaching us things. Everybody give Heather a big round of applause again, please. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you. So again, wonderful farmers market season. Thank you all for coming every week and joining us here at the Denver Kitchen.
Bye, everybody.
We'll get these samples out to you, and I already can't wait for next year. So thank you so much for coming. Remember, come to the Winter's Market, and
Don't forget your shopping list.
thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic day. Make sure you stock up, get your squash. A lot of the things that the vendors are selling today will last for several weeks, if not longer. So thank you so much. Have a fantastic day.